Want to try to hit. We're live now, by the way. Want to try
Yep.
to hit Daniel up. He was here last time post draft, so I want to try to get him back on the show to talk about the draft and all that good stuff. Trying to think, but yeah, we're just talking the tournament, man. Like I said, I'm not going to try to go too OD too much on the Carolina stuff.
Yeah.
Although I'll say this, well, I'll save it. I'll save it for when we actually get into it. But anyway, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter
Hmm.
where you may find yourself as you listen to this, we are back, people. We are back. We've been off for like at least I think a month, month and a half.
Yeah.
Ward's been on the battling tour. He probably has a battle tomorrow.
You got to battle
Um,
some more. I do have a battle this weekend in Kansas City. Make sure y'all pull up.
yep. Shout out to Jay, that guy, man.
Hmm.
Style, and all that good stuff. There is a battle going down this weekend. If you're in the Kansas City area and you're a fan of battle rap, pull up. I mean, we got T Rex in the building, we got Ward in the building. You're battling that got the guy Yogi, T Rex versus Jay, that guy, which I believe is the main event for that battle. You know what I'm saying? So pull up, man. We got, and there's other artists in the building
Yeah.
too
Go
that you're going to
Solo
want to
versus
check out.
Gwitty, Cali Smooth versus Chef Trev. Like, there's some good names, man. So
Yeah, so please pull up this weekend if you're in the area, man. Go support battle rap, man. And let me just say this, man. Loso, I feel like Loso, if you're free, you should pull up. If you're free, pull up. I'll send you the link if you're free. Because yeah, we're definitely talking about that tonight. But shout out to battle rap as a whole, man. There's been a lot of events going down. T Top, I believe, put on his first event a couple of weekends ago. Shout out to QB Black Diamond. Obviously, you were there last weekend for your battle versus City Towers. That went down. No entourage. Tay Rock had an event recently. I feel like I'm missing some other leagues, and
me and
please forgive me.
Truffaut, we had a great,
TOS
yep, great battle. Me and
TOS
Josh
went down, so
Carroll
that
had a great battle.
no
Yeah, but there's
coast.
Yep, Captain's Cup. I think iBattle has been, a few
Our
weeks
battle's been,
ago.
yep.
So yeah, there's been definitely a lot.
For sure, for sure. So shout out to Battle Rap, man. They definitely been putting on. How can we forget Hitman? Hitman Bags and Bodies
Yeah, that's right.
versus the Riot
Riot.
went down.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah, that went down a couple of weekends ago too. So again, a lot of leagues putting on, man. If you can get the pay-per-view, please support, get the pay-per-views when these battles drop. I need to go check out Prestavia versus Coffee because I've heard a lot of good things about that one. I was actually watching Authentic versus Gorilla Monsoon because I heard some good things about that battle. So I watched, during my lunch break. I've been working from home the last couple of days. So during my lunch break, I pulled up and watched a couple of rounds of that. So again, man, go support battle rap, not just the majors, but everybody if you can. Get as many pay-per-views as possible. And when the YouTube drops happen, go run those numbers up. So man, y'all see the name of the title, man. We're gonna get into this. We talking March Madness. There is a first four game happening right now. Please forgive me. I know there are two 16 seeds. I do not know who the participants are. Let me see if I can get that. Get
American
that.
and Mount St. Mary's are playing right now. American
Oh,
Eagles and
okay,
Mount St. Mary's.
okay. One of the tournament teams that UNC actually beat of the two of them. So yeah, how about that? How about that?
Which one did they beat?
Yeah, baby. Huh?
Which one did they beat?
They beat American and UCLA. Those are the only
Oh,
two teams in the field that they beat.
got you.
They lost to everybody else in the tournament field that they face. Um, but yeah, man, I guess just to get it out the way, y'all better be glad I couldn't find my UNC hoodie. I could not find it. I don't know where it's at. I would have pulled up with the UNC hoodie. Ironically enough, I don't own much UNC merch. I own a lot more Notre Dame merch than I do UNC merch. Um, but I just want let's just get this part out of the way, and then we can talk about. Oh, before we get into that, we do have a bracket challenge going on. If you there will be a cash prize. I think we only do $100, so we'll probably keep it at that. If y'all support the channel, by the way, I didn't do any official intros, but if you go search for Brains and Bars on YouTube, hit subscribe, run the numbers up, run the views up, so this becomes a monetized channel, then we can probably, do a couple of $100, right? We can do a
Hmm.
couple $100 on the tournament challenge, so on and so forth. But yeah, man, like go check that out. Trying to think anything else I want to mention. No, let's get into it. So last night we had UNC take on San Diego State. San Diego State got blasted. North Carolina won by 27 points. They were up by as many as 40 throughout this game. And I try. So here's the thing you got to understand about me. I'm all about fairness. I am very objective when it comes to my teams. I am not a homer in that way. If I don't think my team is good, I would tell the truth about it. And so to be honest, I did not think North Carolina was going to make it into the tournament. I wasn't even watching the selection show. The homie Jesse hit us up in the group chat and said, "Oh, UNC got in." I had to then stop what I was doing, go to pull up the selection show, and then watch it from the beginning because I could not believe it. I didn't think they were getting in. And then the outrage started. Shout to John Rothstein. He was the one who started the miscarriage of justice narrative. It's the worst tournament selection ever. I've seen that several times over. Uh, I mean, frankly, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous how upset people got. So I will start by asking you, because listen. I mean, granted, I'm glad you're here. I probably could have pulled up and did a full hour just on this topic alone. And so I'm going to condense my thoughts on this because Ward has heard all about him. Shout out to Loso. Loso is the reason for this, by the way. I normally when I obsess over a topic, I can go overboard, but it wasn't me. It was not me. So I'll just ask you, what were your thoughts on North Carolina's inclusion into the tournament at the expense of West Virginia or Indiana or Boise State or any other of the bubble teams who didn't get in?
Yeah, I mean, it's only because it's the name on the, is because it's North Carolina. Like I would assume that there have been snubs in the past that were just as big of a deal that we didn't care about because it was Xavier getting in and not Wyoming or something like that. But when you put that is it powder blue? Is that what they call it, or is it just baby blue?
But I mean, they call it the powder blue, Carolina blue, baby
Yeah.
blue.
The minute that becomes the team that was the last team to get in, then it's like, nepotism. It's not nepotism because obviously, but it's this idea of this is why you got in. Same reason why whenever the college football playoff extends to 8 teams and everybody's finding a reason to think Alabama is going to be the one that gets to sneak in, like you guys, for ratings and stuff like that. But like I watched North Carolina quite a bit like this year because I like to bet on them and like I like to make you mad by betting on them.
Yeah, you like to make me mad for sure.
And I lost money on them or whatever. And but I can't sit here and say that the times I watched them I thought to myself this is a bad team, right? I thought to myself this is not a very good team. This is a team that needs some help, right? Like, but I never said to myself like, yo, this is a bad team, And they kind of remind me of the Tennessee Volunteer team that got last 4 in the year Cunzo Martin left. I don't know if you remember, post Bruce Pearl, nothing was going to satisfy us. Cunzo Martin comes in, he plays a style that's completely opposite of Bruce Pearl. We end up getting 11 seed, playing a play-in game, and he takes us all the way to the Elite Eight. And at the same time, I think it's like, furthest Tennessee ever been, which we've never been to the Final Four, so it still is, but we've made Elite Eights before. And then, of course, they were calling for him to be fired the whole second half of the season, and he left. He took us to the Elite Eight and then said, "California, here I come." But North Carolina strikes me as a team that has the talent, you know what I mean, to make a run in the tournament. And ultimately, yes, if Boise State or West Virginia deserved a spot, they deserved a spot. It's fine. I haven't watched the metrics or watched it to get, scrutinize it to the point to be like, it's just a disservice or a, robbery or whatever. But I don't think any of those other teams had the ability to make the run that North Carolina has, And that's what we like in March Madness is we like those storylines. We like the upsets, they're favored 1.5 points to beat Ole Miss, like it's like, and if they win
which is
that
crazy,
game,
by the way,
they're probably, I won't say be favored to beat the 3 seed, but they would probably be not that far off of being, maybe a 2-point underdog against the 3 seed,
yes. And I think it was. So hold on one second. I'm trying to get this link for Loso because you get to say send a link. Hold on one second. But so let me say this. This is one of those, the curse of high expectations and the gift of none. Right? I've said this in the group chat, so I'm going to try to condense my comments because Ward has heard it all the last 2 days. But this was North Carolina did not pass the vibe check, right? Like North Carolina was a top 10 preseason team. They were supposed to be a Final Four favorite. They were supposed to contend for the ACC. They were supposed to do all these things, and they didn't meet those expectations, right? Tucker DeVries, best player for West Virginia, gets hurt. I think he only plays like 8 or 9 games. He's
Yeah, he
lost
didn't
for the
play
season.
much of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, he's lost for the season, for much of the season, not all of it. And so they played a little bit above expectation, right? They played a little bit better. And so because of that, because they didn't have those same expectations, we grade them on different curves, right? We say of North Carolina, and look, in American sports, we like to punt. If you don't meet expectations, we're going to punish you. We're going to talk down on you. So the analogy that I had was the U.S. men's basketball team. The expectation every time they step on the court is that they win. Not only that they win, but that they dominate and that they win the gold. Any of those things don't happen. So when they squeak by South Sudan, the sky is falling,
Yeah.
right? When they lose an exhibition game, the sky is falling, right? And so anything short of a gold is a disappointment. And so with Carolina, because of who they are, yes, they didn't meet those top 10 expectations. They were sixth, I think, or fifth in the ACC. They didn't beat any of the great teams, which they faced a lot of them, by the way. And so again, like, had they not made it, I wouldn't have said anything. Had people been like, well, I think West Virginia should have been in. I don't think it was fair that they got left out at the expense of, and this is the other point, of Carolina or Texas or Xavier, because Texas and Xavier are skating, right? Like nobody's saying anything about Texas and Xavier. Xavier only has one quad
So
one win.
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask, I was gonna say, Texas. Well, you put Texas beside North Carolina. I think with how dominant the SEC's been this year, then you make a case for like, like the gauntlet that they've had to play. You know what I mean? Um, but the other thing is this, like, we're talking about like the 30 what? I mean, this is the 38 to 50th best at-large teams in the nation, right? Like, we're not talking about team 6 against team 7. We're over here putting these guys under a microscope, right? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if I'm Tennessee, right? Let's say Tennessee falls in that, and I love Tennessee or whatever, and I look over and say, Texas has Trey Johnson, who is going to be a top 10 lottery pick, who is going to be, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, we deserve to get in over there. They're going to pick them. They got ratings. They got the guy that's going to be a top 10 lottery pick. You know what I mean? Like North Carolina is North Carolina. Like, it's hard to kind of sit teams side by side, and pick them when you're like, come on, man. Like, what are we talking about here? Money, ratings, freshman, McDonald's All-American, this guy. Like, all right, Boise
I
State,
mean, but
whatever.
but again, my thing is this though, like, yeah. So my thing is Carolina's, if you look at all the metrics said that of all the bubble teams,
Yeah.
they had the best ones, right? And again, I didn't know any of this until after the fact because I didn't care. I didn't care. And the thing about me is when, whether it's my team or favorite player, when I see people start to pile on a team or player and I feel it's unjust, then I put the cape on. I'm like, wait. We're going too far. We're doing too much. And so that's what made me turn up and say, oh, okay, look at the data. Everyone wants to cherry pick the quad one thing, which I'm not saying is great. Yes, they only had one quad one win. But I'm like, yo, Texas had the gauntlet of the SEC. Listen, Carolina plays Duke 3 times. They get Florida, Michigan State, Alabama,
Yeah, they
Auburn.
had a
Like
crazy non-conference schedule. Yeah.
they faced three of the top four SEC teams. They faced three number ones and I think two number twos.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're facing some of the best teams in the country. And so I hate this hypothetical argument, but I would have loved to have seen. Now, granted, Texas had to do it, right? Because they had to go to the SEC. They went 6-12. But
Mm-hmm.
what would Xavier, if they had the same schedule, what would they have looked like? What would West Virginia look like if they had to face those same level of
Yeah.
competition? Mind you, they're the common opponent. They lost to Pittsburgh. We lost to Pittsburgh. And now, granted, we got a chance with some get back, and we beat them on the rematch. But I mean, like I just felt like it was overblown. I felt like it
Mm-hmm.
was too much. I felt like it was you could state your grievance But all this weeping over a 19 and 13 team is ridiculous. Like so I'll give you another example because here's one thing I want to point out. I've seen several people, John Rothstein, I think Gary Goodman. I've seen him. I've seen him say something to the effect of, "Well, if they make a run to try to hedge their bets, if they make a run, it doesn't mean that what we're saying is incorrect." And I'm going, "Hey guys, it does mean you're incorrect because if they're not a tournament team, then they can make a tourney run. Like those two things are incompatible with each other."
Is March Madness not the only championship tournament in sports where everybody wants the underdogs to win?
To a certain point.
Like the theme of it, the whole idea of Cinderella, this, that, and the third. So when it comes to that, and you're putting North Carolina in over a Boise State or over another team like a West Virginia, it's that same mentality, right? It's just we out with the we don't want to see North Carolina. We want to see the story of Ali Farouk from Northern Iowa beat Kansas or whatever. We want somebody from West Virginia to create Pittsnoggle. Was he West Virginia or Pittsburgh?
That was West Virginia. Shout out to Kevin Pittsnoggle.
Yeah, we want the next, this guy from a team that, and so that's why you say the outrage is crazy, but it is the theme of March Madness is seeing the littler guys. And now granted they're both Power 5 conference, but seeing the littler guys get, and you just had to throw North Carolina in there. All right, I see.
Man, so we care about the little guy for the first 2 rounds, right? Like we want to see a team make a run. So St.
I don't want to see Sister Jean in the freaking Elite Eight ever again.
No, we don't care about that. We don't care. We want to see you upset. We want to see a 12 beat a 5, a 13 beat a 4, maybe a 15 beat a 2. But that's good for one game. We don't want to see St. Peter's making a run to the Elite Eight because then when they run up against.
I don't know. I feel like every time that they have, I remember when George Mason made that run, bro, everybody was behind them.
What were they, 11, 10 or 11?
They were 11.
So they went to the Final Four, right?
Yeah.
VCU did the same thing. But I feel like we had heard of George Mason before, right? We've heard of VCU before.
We don't want them to win unless they win it all. That's the thing. We want them to win the first 2 games. But if they're not going to win it all, don't take somebody's spot in the Final Four where we could have seen a great. Don't get smoked by 20 all of a sudden and remember who you are.
Yeah. Right. We want to see Duke, Carolina. We want to see you. We want to see the Blue Bloods in the Final Four. We don't want to see as a whole. So NC State was a great run, right? They make that run to the Final Four. You got to have some type
DJ of Burns out of it. We do want to see.
So, and that's the thing, right? With a team
he's
I don't know where he is. He's not in the league. But but I hope he makes
it
someday.
Negotiating a contract to play defensive end with somebody right now.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? He said he did not want to play football. And I'm like, young man, you can make I get it, but you can make so much money if you can just learn how to put your hand in the dirt and just get after the quarterback. You could so much bread. I'm trying to see. Where is he?
Nah, he's overseas.
Playing in the Korean basketball league. He's playing with the Goyang Sono Sky Gunners of the Korean basketball league.
Nice. Yo, A-Ward, I will agree that, I know that the theme of March Madness is we want the little guy. So I guess this is why the outrage from North Carolina. But A-Ward and I was talking today, some of the outrage too was, hey, North Carolina, why is your athletic director behind the scenes pocketing $150,000 if you guys make the tournament? You know what I'm saying? And petitioning that you guys make the tournament. He shouldn't be in the room.
So he was not in the room where it happened. When it came for North Carolina, he was not in the room. So again, he had to recuse himself. When they talked about North Carolina, he had to leave the room, and he was not in the vote. So when they voted on whether North Carolina got
he had to come back in the ring, though. It's like Kingpin walking back into the site. So what did you guys decide?
No, and it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that. When at least from when I looked it up, he was the only one that made a public statement as to why West Virginia didn't go in and North Carolina was made.
Well, that's because he's the chair. He's committee chair.
So you don't think that he had a bigger? You don't think that he had a bigger influence than what we're really giving him, bro? Like, come on.
No, because again, when you look at all the metrics
Yeah,
said
they did point
Carolina
to
was the best bubble team, right? Like Bart Torvik, Ken Palm, Net, which I looked at that quad one stuff. That's it's a little Ponzi scheme stuff going on with that one, bro. I ain't got time to get into it today, but there's a little scammer to that way they do that system.
And the only thing is that it just seemed like for every other team, quad one wins was the main reason, actually the only reason for some. And when it came to North Carolina, it was like, oh well, let's look at all these other metrics. Where West Virginia had what, quote unquote, they had 6 quad one wins,
So here's the
and
thing,
North Carolina had 1.
but this is what I'm saying. This is why I say it's a little scam. It's a little scammy stuff to that, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, I bring up that they lost to Colorado in the Big 12 tournament. That was a quad 2 loss. And I'm like, this team is 13-17. They're 3-17. How is that not a quad 4? Like, that should be a quad. They're a power 4 team, but they're one of the worst power 4 teams in the country.
Yeah.
And so another example I'll cite is when Carolina played Pittsburgh the first time they lost to them. That represented a quad 1 loss for them, right? In the meantime, Pittsburgh loses 2 straight to I forget who they lost to. It was ACC conference, but they lost 2 straight games. And like 10 days later, they play Carolina again. Carolina wins that game. That was a quad 2 win. And so I'm like, yo, in 10 days, they got a quad 1 win 10 days ago.
Yeah.
Carolina gets a
So
quad
it matters
2 win
when
10
you
days
it
later.
matter it only matters when you played them, right?
So
where?
it takes into effect
And where?
when you
Home-
play them,
And where though? Because it's also like
when
home
and where you play them. Yes,
Yeah.
when and where you play them. So because they lost to Pittsburgh on the road, it was a quad 1 loss. They beat them at home, it's a quad 2 win. And I'm just like,
because
yo,
I was
but
wondering, because we beat Louisville by 20, like early in the year, like 5th game of the year, and I was wondering, like they ended up being a pretty good team. Like they ended up
right.
like getting it together. I'm like, I wonder, did it count? Like, I mean, granted, we beat them at Louisville, so it probably counted as a quad 1 win on the road, even though it was like the 5th game of the year. But they weren't ranked or anything. I wonder, and they ended up, being.
I think it is. So like you can go look this up. There's really I'm gonna look this up.
What rhymes with
Tennessee,
Ken Palm
Louisville.
rankings. Ken Palm rankings.
So bballnet.com, right? This has all the quads and whether it's a quad 1 win or quad 1 loss and so on and so forth. So Louisville was a quad 1 win, right?
Okay.
They were 20, I guess 24 is their current rank.
Yeah.
But again, and so again, my thing is this, and I do agree, Lo. So like the problem with doing this stuff is that it's kind of subjective and it depends on whatever criteria you want to use. In some cases, quad 1 wins matter. In some cases, they don't. In some cases, Ken Palm matters. Bart Torvik matters. The wins above bubble, which are the WOB as they've been calling it, like that matter. Like, so again, like I don't
We're talking
know
about Cody now or what?
bro,
No,
performance.
it's so crazy though. As you're talking, A-Wood and I was on the phone the other day, and we was like, man, the strength of schedule argument for Cody is like the most subjective, wackiest argument you could, because it doesn't, like, how are you gonna tell me just because you battled Twerk and he choked all 3 rounds, I battled Twerk and he's freaking bombing every round, like we battle the same one, you know what I'm saying? Which I guess would go to your point about the whole Pittsburgh. I think it was the Pittsburgh thing, right? Like,
yeah, Pittsburgh.
When you played Pittsburgh, they weren't ranked. You know what I'm saying? You got this type of, quad whatever win, and then all of a sudden we played them. So yeah, it does seem kind of subjective. I thought your best argument though, at least when we were talking, your best argument was, which I mean, like you said, I guess it kind of gets, it's like some nuance between them having 6 wins and you guys only have 1. But for the big teams like Auburn, right? They were going to be number 1 no matter what, because their body of work said, hey, look at these quad 1 wins that they had. Where you're saying, yo, that's cool when you do that for Florida and you do that for Auburn, you do that for Bama and Tennessee. But when you get to these teams that are barely making the tournament, they don't have that many quad 1 wins. So what we have to now do, we have to go ahead and bring in these other metrics to define which ones are the best team or who's the best team to get in.
Mm-hmm.
True. And so here's the other argument I'll make too, right? Last year, Virginia got into the tournament. And there was some, hey, man, we don't think Virginia's a very good team. We're not sure they shouldn't have gotten into the tournament. You know what happened to Virginia when they got into the playing game?
Didn't they?
Smoked.
Yeah, I remember that.
Absolutely destroyed because they weren't a good team. And so again, Carolina is mediocre, right? So Ward asked me going into the game last night, what do you think is going to happen? Like, give me your true, honest, not the pessimist view. And so I told him, I said, look, San Diego State is not a good team. So I said, Carolina should win. I thought they should win the game. And when I started watching the game and seeing that San Diego State could not score, that Carolina was defending, I even tweeted, there's a beat writer for The Athletic who covers like Duke and Carolina. And I'm like, man, if Carolina can just get some stops and score, this game will be over by the 10-minute mark because San Diego State is showing they don't got it offensively. Yeah. And sure enough, by the 10-minute mark, the game was done. The game was over. And it was a dog walk.
How deep down did you have to search to come up with that strategy? If they can just get some stops and score that they're going to win. I mean, you must have had to just really dig into the crates for that one.
All I'm saying is this, though. You can see early on that, San Diego State has no offense.
Yeah.
But Carolina turned the ball over like 4 times on their first 6 possessions. And I even put in the chat, these teams stink. Like I said that, like within the first, like before the
it was like 13-6. It was like 13-6. Yeah, it was just. And
they were just playing really sloppy basketball. But once Carolina locked in, they showed that there were levels. And so this is a tournament team. And if they go on a run, it does validate them being included in the tournament. Now, I do think they're going to lose to Ole Miss because I think the issue with Carolina has been they can beat the bums. They can beat the San Diego States. But when they face teams that are in that upper tier to great tier, they struggle or they lose.
One thing you said all year was their bigs were just not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Ole Miss has 2 guys down there that in that game that they beat Tennessee late in the season or whatever that can get buckets. You know what I mean? And if they're because the Pajula kid can shoot for Ole Miss. He's got a nice little guard that can shoot or whatever. But I forget the one dude's name. It's like Baker. No, that's the dude for Auburn. It's I forget what was anyway. But there's 2 of them down there. They can get buckets. They got some 2 bigs, and if that's the case, if Withers and what's the dude named Lute something
Vin Allen Lubin.
Yeah, if Withers and Lubin, ain't down there and been physical, then it could get rough.
So I'll say this. I will give credit to their bigs, especially Vin Allen Lubin. Vin Allen has played a lot better as the season has gone on. The guards actually look to get him the ball more. They're looking to actually involve them in the offense, which was one of my biggest critiques of Carolina this year. It was so guard-oriented and so guard-heavy that they were not looking to get their bigs involved at all. And I get it. None of those guys are Armando Bacot. But you got it in order to get people to pay attention on the defensive end or to be locked into the game, you got to include them. You can't just say, well, just go set screens all game and go get rebounds in case we miss a shot. You got to try to get them involved offensively. And so they've done that. Shout out to Vin Allen. He's played a lot better. I will say, I looked up Ole Miss's roster, and Sean Padula is a Virginia Tech transfer. So they are well acquainted with him and how he plays. They have 6 players who score in double figures.
Yeah.
So that defense that they played against San Diego State, it's got to travel. And the motivation from everyone crapping on them for 2 days, that worked for yesterday. But you know what, though?
It did work for yesterday, but they were going to beat them regardless yesterday. That just wasn't – I don't think San Diego State was equipped to win that game. So I think that motivation actually will be more effective for a game that people think that, this will be able to tell us if you really deserve to be in a tournament.
Listen, they're 0-3 against the SEC, and I feel like they have had a terrible record the last 2-3 years against SEC competition.
As do most people.
Here we go.
It's a new sheriff around here. ACC. There's a new sheriff around here.
Facts. Yo, but A1, you even that narrative of like, depending on what North Carolina does in the tournament, we'll go ahead and justify the outrage or whatever. But I mean, you said, I think you even told me today, you were like, if that's the case, then the other side of the coin has to be true then, right? Like, for instance, SEC has 14 teams, or record-setting 14 teams?
Of course. Yeah.
Let's say 5, 6 SEC teams lose in the first round. Are they going to be like, well, see, SEC shouldn't have had all those teams in there, or they were just beating up on each other the whole year or something like that?
Well, so again, to me, that's the faulty logic in what they're saying, because we do that every year. Right, when we get to the Sweet 16, and so like the Big Ten the last 2-3 years has been the conference that's been dominating the bids, right? They get 8, 9, 10, 11 teams in. And by the time we get to the Sweet 16, there's like one of them. Like Purdue's the only one left standing. And then you go look at all the columns of the winners and losers through the
I hope High
first
Point beats the
weekend.
hell out of them. Keep going.
But every year we look at the winners and losers, and people are dumping on the Big Ten, saying y'all got 11 teams in here, and there's only one left. Like, we hyped y'all up all years that conference, and y'all learned it. So yes, if we get to the Sweet 16 and there's 2 out of 14 SEC teams left, we're going to talk bad about the conference.
Too. But I'll say this much: it also matters if they are upsets or not. You know, if Texas goes in and loses to the 6, you know. Like if they win tonight and lose to the 6, it's not, you know, whoa, you know what I mean? But like if all of a sudden you see, you know, Mississippi State lose to Baylor, then you see Texas A&M get upset by somebody in the second round as a 4 seed. You know,
Ole Miss losing to North Carolina.
Ole Miss losing to North Carolina. You know, Vandy's a 10 playing a 7, so like that's the opportunity, you know, for the opposite or whatever. But I do think that it, you know, saying that the conference is that great, like there's no reason why there shouldn't be at minimum 2 to 3 SEC teams in the Elite Eight.
I can agree with that. I can agree. So, I mean, and obviously because there's so many teams, like they're going to be SEC matchups before we even get to the
Tennessee might have to
right?
play Kentucky in the Sweet 16. Yeah. So, like, we would have to play Kentucky in the Sweet 16 if that course, you know, it hits or whatever. So, but what we really need to be honest with ourselves about is UConn upsetting Florida.
Oh my gosh, I knew you were gonna say it. I knew you were gonna mention that. But yo, did we not get the short end of the stick coming to that, bro? Come on, bro.
Yeah. Like honestly, I'm glad you guys. Well, no, I'm not, because
bro.
If Tennessee would have won the SEC championship, I would have actually had a parade and hung a banner, because the SEC is the greatest year of all time.
Yes.
So to win the tournament is low key like a national championship, you know. So you guys already got one, but yeah, I definitely think it worked out better for us than it did you, if in fact, which they didn't say it was, but if in fact they were going to swap them.
Yeah, but I mean, Florida, but our argument, but anyone, even you felt like, yo, they should have been the higher number 1, correct?
If they would have won the SEC, right? Like if Tennessee, because again, Ward posted that article that referenced Lunardi saying Auburn is no-brainer number 1, and the winner of the semifinal, or the quarterfinal matchup between Bama and Florida was getting the number 1 seed. And I'm like, well, how can that be? Like if Tennessee would have went through Bama or Florida and Auburn to win the SEC championship in one of the most competitive conferences, like I said, in the last 15 years, how are they not a number 1 seed? Their net
not to mention we were number 1 seed the week before. Like you said, before we lost to Ole Miss, they were like, Tennessee's now after they beat Alabama, you know, in the regular season. Yeah.
And so, like, you know, again, biases reflecting this, groupthink plays into this, because you made the point of 111 people had West Virginia in, all of them basically had them in. And again, Lunardi, after Carolina lost to Duke, they had them in the tournament. He had them still in that last 4. And then people went crazy. Then he woke up the next morning, and I guess he had some post bracket clarity or something, and he decided to take them out.
You know what I'm saying? So, you been watching sports a little bit different.
But anyway, one thing you talked about, Florida having to deal potentially with UConn in the second round. Burn, to me, got the worst of it, because if I'm assuming they're going to win their first round matchup, but having to take on potentially Louisville in Lexington is crazy.
That's a good.
That is absolutely. Now, what might happen is you might have Wildcat fans show up just to root against Louisville. So maybe it does work in Auburn's favor, right? That they show up just to hate. But I mean, again, having to take on, you know, a school that is like a couple of hours down the road in your second round matchup when you are the overall number 1, to me is crazy. Like that's a super dangerous matchup for them.
Tennessee plays in Lexington too. It's weird playing your game on Rupp Arena. Like it's like you know, being a rival.
Matter of fact, let's get into this tournament. Let's talk about this. So again, I want to reference, we have a bracket challenge going on. It's Brains and Bars. Let me make sure I get this right. It is Brains and Bars Tourney Challenge. The password to get in is win it all 25! Exclamation point, capitalize that W, make your picks, get in there, and there is a cash prize for the winner. Looks like there are 24 members in there now. I would love for someone who actually we know win it. So what happens is you have all these ringers who are searching for the word bracket challenge,
But you made
and
it.
then they go, "What's
It's
up?"
not public, is it?
It's private, but I shared the link publicly, right? So,
Got you.
again, I wouldn't be mad. I'm not going to be mad if some, ringer wins it, but they do go around searching for bracket challenge, and then they jump in and try to collect as much money dollars as possible. So, but anyway, let's talk about this bracket, man. So let's get into the South region, right? Auburn's the number one seed. We got Michigan, we got Texas A&M. I'm just going to go through the top four seeds for this region. We got Auburn. We got Michigan as a 5, Texas A&M as a 4, Iowa State as a 3, and Michigan State as a 2. Do you have any? Is Auburn you guys is no brainer to get to the Final Four from this group, or do you think maybe one of those other top 4 seeds could take them down?
I don't know if Auburn. I don't know if I have Auburn beating Louisville. I have them going the second round, but I mean that's something I got to deal with. But I think out of all 4 of them, are you saying for the first round, who has the toughest first round? Or
No. I mean, I'm saying like from that South region, right? The top 4 seeds are
who's getting to the
Auburn,
Final
Michigan
Four?
State, Iowa State, and Texas A&M. I mentioned Michigan. I went 5, so my apologies. But Texas A&M is the 4 seed. Iowa State's a 3 seed. Michigan State's a 2 seed. Auburn is the number 1. Do you see any of those one of those other seeds other than Auburn potentially coming out of the South to get to the Final Four?
Yeah, I think I do. I think I see Michigan State.
I was about to say, are you betting against Tom Izzo?
Yeah,
boy.
not only that.
Tom Izzo in the tournament narrative.
Well, here's my thing. Is Auburn's lost 3 of their last 4 games.
Yeah, they haven't been
isn't
looking
that
good.
wild? Like, I'd like to know if that's an actual stat, like for a 1 seed to have lose 3 of their last 4 games and still ended up being a 1 seed. But that's a credit to like how powerful their conference was and how many great wins they had. But let's not act like losing is not, something that's like, yo, we've been losing lately. And when it comes to like high pressure, big games like that, if you're not in that winner's mentality, I seen a stat yesterday that said the national champion, every national champion has played in either the semifinals or finals of their conference tournament.
Come on.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like dating back. So it's just like, here are the teams this year that played in the semifinals or the finals of their conference tournament, And so it's like, but yeah, losing 3 of your last 4 is like, I'm not going to say it's like a culture of losers, you know what I mean? But it's tough to say, hey, now I think you're all of a sudden going to win 5 games in a row.
You're talking to the guy who doesn't believe in momentum, bro. So,
this is very, very true.
So what you're saying, I agree with what you're saying, but
yeah. So I'll say this much: we're talking about Louisville, but Creighton is also still Creighton. So even if that's not an easy second day matchup either. I don't believe Creighton is,
Yeah.
And then down here, I personally just think the winner of Iowa State and Michigan State is probably going to upset Auburn. I think Iowa State or Michigan State, whoever's on the bottom of that bracket, as long as it's one of them, If North Carolina squeaks through, I think Auburn thumped the hell out of North Carolina.
Well, I mean, they already did. They already beat the crap out of them once already.
It's like seeing your little brother pull back up. Like, oh, I remember that. I remember you.
I will say this. If Carolina is able to make a run, I think Iowa State is vulnerable. I feel like Iowa State was really good to start the season. I feel like the second half of the season, they were not
kid got
as
hurt.
good.
I don't know his name, but it looks like a lot of Roman numerals. Yeah, I forget his name. He got hurt, but he came back. And
is his last name Lipsy?
It starts with an M. M Cloven. M something.
Hold on. Let me look at this roster here. Momsilovich or something like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so he came back. Okay, so I'll cut them some slack. I think it is going to be an Auburn and Michigan State Elite 8 matchup. I got Auburn. I think Auburn is the real deal.
I think they probably match up a little better against Michigan State now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think I'm still, for some reason, I don't, even though Michigan State has had an amazing season, I still don't believe in them. And I should, right? Because again, Tom Izzo, the what's the name of the Bucks head coach? The Doc Rivers of college coaches, who has been living off this one championship forever. Now, granted, I give Tom Izzo a lot of credit. He does seem to he maximizes his rosters. He's made it to Final Fours with teams that probably other coaches probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So I don't want to disparage his name that much. But he's been he's been dining out on that one championship in 2000 for a very, very long time. But I do think Auburn will make it to the Final Four. So, Loso, you got Auburn in the Final Four?
So I haven't finished my bracket, but no, I also agree that I don't think Auburn's going to beat Michigan State either.
Okay. Well, I hope we get that matchup. I think this is going to be a great one. Let's jump over to the East side. So the top 4 seeds in the East, we got Duke as the 1, Bama as a 2, Wisconsin, who actually is in high octane offense, as a 3, and Arizona as the 4. This has got to be Duke all the way, right? Even if you don't have Cooper Flag at 100%.
No, there's no such thing as not with that Alabama offense. Like if Cooper Flag's not at 100%, like but I'm taking Duke. Yeah, but the way you said it just kind of made me not feel like.
Is he back? Is he back for the tournament?
He probably is not going to play that first game. I would assume he's not going to play that first game. There's no way in hell they're going to put him out there against whoever that is.
I mean, I ain't going to hold you. I wouldn't play him the first weekend. I think they could beat Baylor without him. I think they could beat Mississippi State without him.
Yeah, definitely Mississippi State. Baylor kind of is a little bit. I mean, we watched them live. They weren't amazing, but they were a pretty good team.
Man, that's because Texas Tech shot all them doggone threes in the second half. I mean, they regressed to the mean something crazy, and they just kept shooting threes and wouldn't attack.
So yes, to answer your question, yes, I have Duke in the Final Four, but I don't think it's like a shoe-in type situation. I think if they end up getting Alabama, like they better be at 100%.
So I think the problem for Alabama is obviously Mark Sears is a really small guard. I feel like both their guards are not especially tall, and that Duke team has length, size at every position. I mean,
and so does all those SEC defenses all do. Mark Sears been cooking them dudes.
Okay, fair point. Fair counterpoint. But again, I just think Duke's defense is going to be enough to slow down anybody they face. Baylor, like I said, Baylor didn't impress me. They were not impressed. Although the Jeremy Roach revenge game, because if they beat Mississippi State, would face Duke in the second round, and that was he was there for 4 years. So I mean, I guess that you don't have a bulldog. We're just going to pretend that was a bulldog going off saying, "Don't forget about Mississippi State."
we low key need to get Loso to do one of those things where the dog hits the beach ball, and then you got to figure that out.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So shout out to Trent. He said if Duke doesn't make the Final Four, it's not a successful season for them.
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at that either. Especially as good as they've played. I get the ACC has been down, but I feel like all of their non-con games they won except for one, and they were like pretty.
It's like we were talking about with North Carolina. It's like, bro, you're Duke. You know what I mean? So I agree because of who they are. You know.
I don't, but even beyond who they are, they legitimately have been really good this year, right? Like I don't just to even beyond the hype and of the brand and the name.
Yeah. Every time I look, they're up 30. You know what I mean? Like they're like beating the hell out of teams too. So like I
so mean,
if they don't make the Final Four, it's not a successful season. I agree.
Beat Auburn this year. They lost to KU. They lost to Kentucky actually.
Lost to Clemson too, I think.
I think so. Beat Arizona. At Arizona,
I can't believe
beat them pretty handily. I mean, at that point, KU was still playing pretty good basketball.
Yeah.
KU kind of fell apart once they got to the conference part of their season, but like they were blowing teams out, playing really good basketball. And like I said, I think even if Cooper Flag, if they held him out for this weekend, I think they have a talented enough team. He doesn't need to play in the 116 matchup if you want to preserve him for one more game and then bring him back. I don't know if they play. Let's see. When do they play? Friday. Right. Friday. So if you wanted to save them for, the Sunday matchup against the 8-9 winner, I think you could do so. So I got Duke. You got Duke. Loso, you got Duke? Or you?
Yeah. No, I got Duke. I mean, I also agree with the Bama thing, bro. I mean, I've been watching Bama all year, obviously, but Yeah, I mean Cooper Fly is going to come back. I do want to see when he's coming back, and also what team he's going to be facing in his 8-9 matchup, and see what he looks like and how they kind of look like as a team. But yeah, I got Duke as going to the Final Four.
I'm gonna throw a sleeper team out here. Now, granted, I've only watched very few of their games, but BYU, I can see BYU making a run. I can
Hmm.
see BYU making a run and playing Duke in that Elite Eight game against Bama. Now, I didn't pick it, but I can see them. I can see them upsetting some people along the way.
Yeah,
Do you have,
I think Wisconsin is beatable in that second round game for BYU.
For sure, for
yeah.
sure.
Do you
Loso,
guys?
you had a question?
Yeah, for either one, the what is this? The South or the East? Did you guys have any sleeper teams besides the Juggernauts, besides the 1-2? I know you said
You're talking about
BYU.
like no, yeah, you're talking about like Cinderella teams.
Not necessarily even the 16, but I mean,
Oh,
but
for, I think for
yeah,
I got Liberty
me,
beating Oregon. That's a 12-5. I got Liberty
yeah.
beating Oregon.
I feel like every tournament you have to pick a 12-5 upset, like everyone.
I feel
yeah,
like we shouldn't be giving you this because you haven't turned in your bracket yet. I feel like we should really
yeah.
withhold this
Am
information.
I
But
in? Am I in the Brains and Bones
I
though?
don't, I have no idea. I doubt you have.
I gotta see. I'll join it though. Yeah.
To be honest with you, like the team that it would probably be North Carolina. Like on that side, to me is like the one that I think
Man.
can make a little run.
A1, listen to me. You're doing the same thing we get mad at A-Ward for doing,
No, no,
bro.
no, 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 no,
You
no, no.
do this
Hold up. Wait.
whole fake woe is me. Yo,
No.
I have no faith in my team. And then you ride the parade float all downtown Raleigh with your baby blue Tar Heels hat, bro. And we're supposed to just go ahead. This man does it all the time. This man bets against Tennessee. Bro, they're not gonna win. Shut up,
Already
Loso.
put money on Wofford. Guess what?
Bro,
If Wofford wins,
they're
we're
up
going to
10.
we're
They're
going to
up,
watch the games.
bro. They're up 10 with 3 minutes left against Auburn. He's like, "Shut up, Los. We're definitely gonna lose this game." And I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking about?"
Now you did say that, and then Auburn like cut us like 4 points in like 30
He did.
seconds.
He did. He
Like
did.
30
They did. They
They went on
did.
an 8-0 run in 54 seconds, bro.
They
They
did.
did.
They did.
No, what I was shaking my head because I would love nothing more. Like again, I now have a righteous, what I feel to be a righteous cause to root for, which is Carolina going to the Elite Eight. Like
Yeah.
that would nothing would make me happier than seeing Carolina go to the Elite Eight or Final Four just to stun on the haters.
All right, Loso, get the
Who's?
dog back in here. We got to get the beach ball. We got
Oh
to put up
yeah.
trash cans.
Wait. So because really, who you guys need to shut up is that West Virginia mayor, bro. Oh, wait, is it the governor or the mayor? Who's
Governor.
suing you? Who's suing you guys?
No, the governor is supposed to, he wants to open an investigation because, again, because of the miscarriage of justice, as if
Yeah.
some man was wrongly incarcerated, to find out why a 19 and 13 team
Yeah.
didn't end up in the freaking 19 and 13. And by the way, they're quad one. Now, granted, KU, Arizona, there's some decent quad one wins. I don't care. You lost to 3 and 17 Colorado. Get out of my face, fam. I don't want
Yeah.
to hear it. I don't, which is the worst, which is not a quad three loss, by the way, which again, I feel like that net thing might be a little bit of a Ponzi scheme. That might a 3 and 7, a team that went 3 and 17 in your conference should be an automatic quad four loss, by the way. Don't
Yeah.
talk to me about quad two, quad. Anyway, we're getting off track. I don't want to revisit that. But last thing, I want nothing would make me happier. Elite Eight, and as much as I have been on the fire Hubert Davis bandwagon, he's 8-2 in his turning existence. So he's been pretty good when we get to win or go home. So that's all I'll say about that. All right, let's jump over.
Real
Yes, sir.
quick,
Go
bro.
ahead.
The golden man. The tweet of his tweet, bro, today was. I don't know if you put it after North Carolina won, but it was miscarriage of justice. These nuts, you know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, but it's a fact though. It's because but one thing, even though
Definitely
I was
the only tweet ever that has the word miscarriage and these nuts in it.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. I was going against. I mean, I was at least pushing back on this on A1's initial kind of like stance on like, hey, this shouldn't be an outrage. But when he did kind of just sober all the mindsets when he said, look, guys, we're not about to go ahead and act like it's a robbery for a bubble team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you're on the outside looking in for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It kind of like it felt like, bro, how I felt last night when freaking St. Francis loses. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at all the fans in the stands and they have their hands on their head like they just got upset. I was like, hey, your Uber's outside, bro. Like, what do you guys like, get the heck out of it. Like, yo, why are you guys acting like this is Cooper Flagg's, you know, saying like demise or something? Like, yo, get the hell out of here, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, like that's my thing. We're acting like this over mediocre teams. Like if I would have had all that army of data still hit my timeline and Carolina was sitting at home, I'd have been like, you should have beat Duke at least once. You
Yeah.
should have beat Wake, or you shouldn't have lost to Pittsburgh. Like, shouldn't have lost to Stanford. Like, I would have been like, you got to win your games. The one thing about me is I'm consistent. When the SEC did all that crying when in the football playoff about Ole Miss should have been in and Alabama should have been in. Shut up. You should have won your games. Don't lose to bums. And you too could be enjoying the reindeer games. I don't care about all this crying. So again, it doesn't move me. It doesn't move me. 19-13, you got the governor talking about miscarriage of justice. Investigate why your coach left and went to Indiana. Go investigate that.
Yeah.
Get out of my face, man. Oh my God. Anyway.
All right, which one are we moving to?
Let's go Midwest. We're gonna save Loso's bracket for last. We're gonna save the West for last. So let's jump into the Midwest. We got the top 4 seeds are Houston, Tennessee as the 2, Kentucky as the 3, and Purdue as the 4. I feel like this is kind of like the wild card bracket because I feel like I like Houston.
It's the most wide open one.
Yeah, I feel like they could lose to Gonzaga or Georgia.
Yep.
If they just have a bad shooting night, even though they play really good defense, just because offensively this team they're not explosive enough. So, I mean, let me see. Who do I have going to the Final Four out of this group? Let me see. Okay. Ward, are you picking Tennessee to go to the Final Four?
Man, of course I'm picking Tennessee to go to the Final Four. No, yeah, I think that.
I thought you just said that you had them lose, or you just bet against them.
Yeah, of course. I bet my money against them. I'm not betting money that Tennessee goes to the Final Four.
Man, Ward, just send me that $20, man. Send me that $25. I can go get lunch or something with
plus
that, bro.
$1,400. You know how much $20 can get me if they lose? Like, let's go. That's what. That's the
man. They not losing to no Wofford, man. Cut it out, bro.
Yeah, that's what. Yep, that's. But here's what I'll say. I'll say, McNeese is a fun story. Shout out to Oracon. And shout out to which the coach, I actually used to hate him. I still can't stand him.
Oh, Will Wade, right?
Will Wade, yeah. I did not like him.
He's been linked to the NC State job.
Yep, I don't doubt that a bit. McNeese over Clemson, quite possible. Wouldn't be, like you said, Georgia or Gonzaga over Houston. Wouldn't be, yeah,
I definitely have Georgia over Gonzaga.
The winner of this game over Illinois, Xavier in Texas, beating Illinois.
Interesting.
I could definitely see that happening. But ultimately, man, it's going to be very tough. We have to play Kentucky again. They beat us twice this year, and they beat us by 8 to 10 points each time. It wasn't like. So I don't know what it is about us in Kentucky this year, but I haven't felt very good. It's not one of those years where I'm like, well, it's hard to beat a team 3 times, So I hope something happens and Kentucky gets knocked off before we see them. But I do think it's a very wide open region, and so I'm just praying that the upsets happen and we get a good path at least to the Elite Eight.
Is Kentucky the one team that you don't want to see?
Yeah, we've already whooped Illinois. Well, we didn't whip them. We already beat Illinois. I'm not sold on UCLA. And then outside of that, what is it? Xavier in Texas. We've already beat Texas twice. Xavier's not been too bad actually. But yeah, now at the top of the thing, I think we match up really good against most of these teams. For some reason, we can't beat Purdue in postseason play ever. So I hope that we don't have to see them. But I think we are a team that can match up well with Houston, play just as good a defense, and might possibly have more offense than Houston. So it's I don't think it puts us in it. I'd rather play Houston than I would Alabama. I'd rather play Houston than I would, Kentucky and some of these other teams.
All right, I gotta rethink my selection of Tennessee over Kentucky. Now I just said they lost to them twice. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, though.
It is, man, but they just some reason they've just been better each time. It's bothersome.
I actually see Gonzaga beating Houston. I'm about to think about that before I submit my bracket. All right, Loso, how you feel about this Midwest region?
You know how I feel, bro. There's just nobody who I'm worried about with this. I mean, I know you're worried about Kentucky and yours. Let me see. Hold on. I know
I
you
just
guys
have a
said that we should
question.
be
I
scared
have a
about
question for
UConn.
Loso. I have a question for Loso. If we get down to the Elite Eight, who are you picking out of your two favorite things in life? Florida or Drake?
That is so good.
if they have to play
That's
each other.
That's
man,
hilarious.
bro. That's good.
I
Yeah, I
said, damn, they
mean,
done put Drake in Florida's region, in Loso's region. Wow.
yeah, man. But so I guess you guys so breaks. So I didn't watch too much. I mean, obviously, I know they were good. What is St. John's like strong suit? Like when you say like, yo, let's say hypothetically, you guys. I mean, I don't know if you guys got St. John's going to the end of, or at least meeting, Florida or whatnot. What would you guys say St. John does really well?
Defend.
Yeah, they defend very well. They're
They
gritty.
defend very well. Yeah,
They're gritty.
that's for sure. Defend very well. I haven't watched a lot of St. John's games, so I'm not going to say offensively, but like the few games I have watched, like yeah, they defend their butts off. They just play hard. You know, I think they have a couple of guys who are NBA prospects, so they do have NBA talent on the team. They're an
Mhm.
older team, so I don't know how old Florida is age wise. You know what I'm saying? If it's a bunch of sophomores and
They do have some senior.
juniors and
They have senior
freshmen,
guards.
St. John's is similar to Houston. I would say they're similar to like a Houston type of team.
with a little bit more scoring punch, though. I do think they
Limit-
can they can score better than. I mean, that's not saying a whole lot, but I think I think they can score better.
I think
I
it's
think
really
if
that
Florida,
second
I
game.
think that's what I was about to say.
If
Yeah. If they get past UConn, bro, I'm not.
they should be
You
a Final
know,
Four team. Like there's no
yeah.
reason. Like I don't. You know, even if somehow Missouri or Texas Tech squeaks through, Florida's 1-1 against Missouri this year, but I firmly believe they'll beat Missouri if they get to play them. Or
Yeah.
Texas Tech is they're like a watered down Houston, a watered down St. John's. Honestly, like I feel like St. John's, should. But yeah, I think I think it's that you got a bad draw with that UConn, and UConn could very well lose that first game.
Man, y'all better not lose to no
But here's the
UConn.
thing, though. I also think it's a bad draw to not only if you don't have to play UConn, you have to play a SEC team. Like somebody who's already seen you before. Like
Mhm.
in your second game. That
Yeah.
kind of sucks too. So
Yeah. Do you guys have Arkansas beating Kansas?
I do not.
I do not.
Yeah. Kansas is similar to like UConn and some of these other teams where I just expect that the experience will take them at least to the
Because
second
you hated
weekend.
Kansas all year.
Yeah, they've been really bad, but they've also they lost to Houston in overtime. You know what I mean? They beat Duke. They they have the talent. Hunter Dickinson is 7'1" and he's very good around the rim. He can get you 30 and 10. Zeke Mayo can shoot it from outside. Chris Harris Dewan Harris. Chris Harris was the defensive back for Kansas. Dewan Harris, he's going to get you 6. They have guys. I think it's just a little bit of the depth and just a little bit of how good they really are. They have to be clicking on all cylinders to probably make it to a Sweet 16. But I think they can make it, to the Sweet 16. I think they could win that second round game. They could upset a St. John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Missouri actually making it to the Sweet 16. I got them beating Tech. I do think Tech is a team that could be dangerous because if they have a half like they had against Baylor, where like every 3-pointer they throw up goes in, like it could be really hard to beat them. But again, like if they have a second half like they had against Baylor, then they could easily lose a game. Like they were just basically just praying to run the clock out that second half because I think they scored 51 that first half, and I think like 26 the second. Or 24. It's like they ended up with like 75 points. So I mean, like Texas Tech, because they have so much good shooting, they could shoot themselves out of a game, but they can shoot you out of a game as well.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Like I do think I have Florida and St. John's in my Elite Eight. I have a lot of chalk. I don't have a bunch of upsets. I have a couple of 12s winning. I might have like 113 winning here and there. I have no 14s or 15s winning. I mean, I have Florida going to the Final Four.
Well,
I
that was
have
gonna be my
watched.
next question. If there is somebody that's, let's say, 12 seed or lower to make it to a Sweet 16, like who's your pick? Sounds like
So
12
you
I
probably
think
had
seed,
Liberty.
12 seed or
yeah,
lower.
Liberty. I had Liberty because I could definitely see Liberty. Now, granted, this is going completely off of what they said on Selection Sunday, right? Liberty can score, and if you don't get to 70, if you don't hold them below 70, you're likely going to lose the game. And so I can see them. Arizona is an okay team, but I could see them having trouble scoring and going into a funk. And then Liberty just goes on like a 15-3 run,
Yeah,
right?
mine
So
would
I
be
mean,
that McNeese and High Point. Like I think that it's possible that we could get them against each other in the second round. The Clemson upset and Purdue upset in the first round. And then obviously the winner that would have to go to the Sweet 16. That
I
and
do have
Yale.
High Point winning.
I think Yale is a team to look at. I think they're playing A&M, right? And sometimes A&M just don't look that good at all.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah. I mean, you would know more about that. Again, I haven't watched a lot of A&M, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad if you end up being right about that. Loso, what about you?
No, I don't have any 12s going to the Sweet 16. Let me open this bracket back up. Mine's is pretty much, all of the top guys. I guess. Oh, you guys are in 11, right? Yeah, North Carolina will probably be the lowest seed that I have winning 2 games. Well, yep. Yeah, I don't have anybody else. I mean, I guess I got to look back at Liberty from what you guys were saying. I didn't really know too much about Liberty.
It's not. I'm not. Yeah, Liberty's. I'm not super sold, but I am sold on. I am sold.
Like, there's gonna be one of these teams to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's what it is. Every year, there's always somebody. You know what I mean? There's damn near always somebody 12 or below that makes it to a Sweet 16.
And I felt like last year had a lot of chaos. Had a lot of chaos. I mean, obviously NC State going all the way to the Final Four. I just feel like there are a lot of like double-digit seeds who were playing in
Yeah, and that's why I didn't say 11 or
the
below,
second
because I
weekend.
do believe like a Texas, a Xavier, a North Carolina, these guys power conference teams that have played. You know what I mean? Like some of these, so it's like 12 is normally a team that you're starting to remember the name of this guy. Like, yo, have you seen, Jack? What is his name? Oakland that put it on Kentucky.
Oh,
Oh
He
was
put
yeah.
it
Oh
32
no,
Goki?
on.
no, was it? No, it wasn't. That
Goki?
was
Yeah, Goki.
yeah.
Yeah, 10 for 20 from 3-point range.
Like, who's
Got
gonna
Kentucky.
be? Yeah, and he almost went. I mean, he went crazy against NC State the next round,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So there's gonna be somebody,
I love his quote
Yeah.
though. He was like, "What did he say after the game?" He said, "Yeah, I
I'm
may
not
not be
gonna make it to the
drafted,
NBA or something
but
like
I could
that.
play
Yeah.
with any of these guys, like
Yeah.
or something like that."
Yeah.
So who do y'all have winning it all?
And that is not look. I know in past years, bro, I still no matter where Florida was seated, I would always have them like in the 8, at least from the the Elite 8 or something like that. But this year, bro, I mean, I don't know. I just truly I said this towards when they won the SEC championship. I said, bro, there's nobody in the tournament that's playing, but there's nobody going into the tournament playing better than Florida. I know you told me Duke and St. John, but I was just like, nah, bro.
I mean, St. John's. I mean, Duke too. I mean, Duke. I mean, granted,
Especially
they
not with
lost to
Cooper
Clemson.
Flag. Especially not with Cooper
Yeah,
Flag being
I
100%.
mean, but
But
again, like I think if he gets through this first weekend, I think once we get to the second weekend, he should be ready to rock and roll. He should be good. But I have Florida winning it all. I actually have Florida Duke in the final game. I got Florida winning it all.
I feel like everybody has that matchup, bro. Besides Ward, but everybody else.
So my
Yeah, so
fear.
for me, it's like once I got down to the Final Four, and I was like, Alabama and Florida were both in my Final Four, and I was like, I can't pick these guys to go to the national championship. I hate both of y'all.
Yeah.
So I picked Houston. I picked Houston to win it all. So we shall
Really?
see. I think Kelvin Sampson
Do you
has done
believe him?
I
Do you
think
believe in
Kelvin
anyone?
Sampson, Kelvin
Yeah,
Sampson
I do believe him.
has
I do
done an
believe him.
amazing job at Houston, and I think it's about time that, he's had teams that should have won in the past, and I think didn't Sheed get hurt last year? Didn't Jamal Sheed get hurt? Or
Shed. He
Shed?
got hurt. Yeah, I don't know if he tore his
Yeah,
ACL or MCL, but he had a bad injury. I feel like were they already getting blown out when that happened though? Can't remember because that was Duke, right? They played Duke.
I don't
He
remember
gets
either.
hurt. Maybe it was early in the game. Let's see.
War question. So, all right, out of the Tennessee, the recent Tennessee teams, right? So the good ones, right?
Yeah.
Schofield, Grant, even Dalton,
Yeah.
and then this one. I mean, well, I guess those. Did you have any of those winning the bracket in your bracket, or no? You had them losing as well.
I mean, I always have a bracket with Tennessee.
Well, like your serious bracket, like you're like, yo, this is
Yeah,
what I think.
no.
Okay, so you
Absolutely
didn't
not.
have those. So this Tennessee team, and you
We're
don't think that
cursed.
you don't think this Tennessee team is better than those Tennessee teams.
Not the Schofield and Grant Williams. Not that team. Not at all.
Okay, and so I guess in this tournament, then what do you see? Is it the same? Because I think pretty much every time I talk to you, the main thing that you kept saying is like, yo, look, we could beat any team, but we have to hold that team under. I mean, it kind of almost sounds like St. John's or whoever, but we have to hold them under like 80 points, I think, or something like that.
Listen, we've never been to a Final Four ever. It's not going to start this year. Like we're cursed.
You don't know that. You don't know that. But it has to happen for somebody. It has to happen for why not you?
I guess, man. I mean, listen. I think making it to the Final Four is all about kind of like the luck of the draw and everything. But even then, bro, we freaking went to a damn Elite Eight 3 years ago and lost to Sister Jean. Like, I mean, like, come on. Like, what are we doing? Like even when we get to like these, we're losing to Loyola, or whatever. And it's like there's just something about Rick Barnes. And, I'm not just going to say him because Tennessee's never been to a Final Four, but it's just something about it. It's like, yo, we just don't win those games. And, so I just can't look at a bracket and be like, yeah. Now, I'm sure I'll start being optimistic if I see some upsets fall in certain ways or whatever. But was it 2 years ago or was it last year that Zakai Ziegler tore his ACL going into the tournament, and he didn't play the whole rest of the year, whatever we have. But there's always something. But I do think Tennessee is good enough to win. What is it? 6 straight games? How many you got to win? 2, 2, 2?
6.
I think there are a list of maybe 10 teams that could win 6 straight games. And I think Tennessee's on that list. But and that's because defense keeps you in every game. It just does. Defense is not about the ball going in the basket. It's about effort, and those guys go out there and give effort every time. Offense, you go out there, you're missing, like, and you're in a different gym, you're in a different whatever. And then next thing you know, like, yeah. So I think that because they play great defense, it keeps them in every game. They can be on that short list, but I just don't, man, they just don't got that guy. They don't got that guy. They don't got to, I think they got a really good point guard. They got Lanier who tends to play one really good half a game. But it's just like, where's those points going to come from when you need them, And it's just, it's going to come from defense and forcing turnovers, I will say this much, and I'm about to knock on wood because it's probably going to be, we're going to miss 2 free throws to go to the final, sure. But like we've been a very good free throw shooting team this year, and I think that's been a huge thing too, as I've noticed.
I might change my championship pick. I feel like,
hey,
listen, man, like every time like something happens, they'll be like 85% of brackets had this team winning it all. And now they've been knocked out. And it's just like, I'm pretty sure Florida is probably, I would say Florida and Duke have to be the most selected teams to win it all. And so I just feel like I want to swerve. I'm probably not going to change it because I don't care that much. As you get older, like being right about these things matters less and less. But I kind of want to, just because I don't want to see that statistic come up and Florida is sitting by the wayside. I hope I'm wrong, right? Like my team's not a true contender, so I could care less, if what happens with them. But like for one of y'all, at least one of y'all can be happy at the end of the day. I wouldn't be mad about that. So But we'll see. We'll see. Anything else y'all want to say about this, man?
Just remember, Tennessee held Florida to 44 points.
They did.
Man, that was crazy. So looking up all this stuff today, I mean, Tennessee won by 30. I'm sorry, Florida won by 30. And then on the rematch, Tennessee won by 20, which is kind of crazy.
It's just crazy because Florida, every other loss Florida has, they scored 80 in. So you know what I mean? Like they average probably, close to 90 points a game. So when I say like Tennessee has an elite defense, and we won 66 to like 44. 66 is not even that many points, like Tennessee's defense has to win those games for them in the Elite Eight or whatever, in like those big games. Like we're not gonna go in there and go bomb for bomb and win a game 89 to 81. It's not against the good teams.
Now unless y'all go crazy from three.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that's it, man. That's our time. We appreciate y'all tapping in with us. Please remember you can check out
real quick. I wanted to just do this little segment. I'm gonna test you and Ward real quick for the fans. I think it'd be kind of cool. I want to test your little NBA knowledge, but I'm gonna time you guys. Thought it'll be something dope or whatnot.
Okay.
So as soon as I finish this question, you guys are gonna have to answer the question. I'm gonna time you guys how quick. It's an NBA question. How quick you guys can go ahead. But this is easy when you really think about it. Okay. So as soon as I finish the question, you're just gonna start naming these players, all right? I need to know let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8 NBA MVPs to never win a championship. Go ahead.
Russell Westbrook.
Your time starts now.
Derrick Rose. Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question? Are some of these pre-1980?
James Harden.
No.
James Harden.
James
Harden. All current. James Harden, that's 4. So let's see.
2 of them in the 90s.
Barkley and Malone.
Malone, that's 6.
How many are there?
8.
There's 2 more. You're missing 2 more.
Allen Iverson.
McGrady?
Yep.
Oh, Allen Iverson.
Yeah. 1 more. You guys add. I picked the under on the minute. I told somebody, I said I think you guys can get it under a minute. You have 45 seconds.
It is.
You guys know it. It's a guard. Point guard.
Steve
I already
Nash.
said Derrick Rose.
Yes,
Steve Nash. Steve Nash. There you go.
Boom. 55 seconds. That is a black and white thing, guys. Love it.
Dang, I was working my way from the 80s going forward. So I was like back in the early 90s trying to get back there. Steve Nash.
What's crazy is what stuck me though when I was trying to do was Derrick Rose. For some reason, I did not think about Derrick Rose at all.
I mean, that's the first one that comes to mind, bro. Like that's one of the great ones.
Allen Iverson was like the first one that came to mind for me, but
yeah. But all right, man. Please remember, you can check out every episode of It's a Black and White Thing by going to the podcast app of your choice, searching for It's a Black and White Thing. You can find it wherever you get the good podcasts. You can also check us out on YouTube by searching for Brains and Bars. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Get the likes.
Do you always say that? You can find it where you get the good podcasts.
Yes, you can find it wherever you get the good podcasts. Yes.
That makes it like we're not a good podcast, but like where you go to get the good podcast. That reminds me of like, every time
you find a good podcast.
Performing at Poets Anonymous tour, and then Loso would come on stage.
Oh my God!
Is everybody still awake? All right.
Yo, do you remember that?
No, I do not remember that.
Does A-Wood tell you that?
His would always be done with his poem, and Loso was the next one in every city. He'd be like, "Yo, Cincinnati, are you still with me? Are y'all still awake?"
But it was like, but you know what's crazy is that the phrase was supposed to be like, "Are y'all having a good time?" Like that's what in my mind I thought I was saying. But every time I was like, "Yo, y'all still awake?" So they didn't see like, look, I know he just stuck the place up. So I'm gonna love this next set right now.
Streams comes back shaking his head like, why does he always do that? Like,
Yo, I did
anyway,
not
yeah,
know.
you
I
can
did
get our
not know
stuff where you
until
get
A-Wood
to,
said
at the
it.
same place as the Good Podcast. Don't worry, we might be in the Good Podcast bin, but we're still, on clearance.
Yes, wherever you find a good podcast, like
There you go.
wherever you find us. Anyway, hit the like button on Twitter, hit the notification bell, comment, all that good stuff, man. Share once again, share the broadcast, whether audio or visual. Tell a friend and tell a friend. It's them boys again. Until next time, it's been a black
Right.
and white thing, man. We'll holler at y'all next week, man. First of all, shout out to you good brothers for all the battles y'all got coming up here in the next coming days, weeks,
Yep.
months potentially. And we'll holler at y'all next week, man.
Peace.
Sir.
All right.